A black mother was shopping for groceries with her kids when another customer accused her of stealing food right there in the aisle. What that woman didn't know? The person she just humiliated was about to become the owner of the entire grocery chain. You know that feeling when someone accuses you of something you didn't do? When someone looks at you and just assumes the worst? Now imagine that happening in front of your children, in front of a crowd of strangers. And you can't do anything about it because you need to keep your composure. That's what happened to a woman named Nicole Richardson in a Safeway grocery store in Oakland, California. She was accused of stealing. She wasn't stealing. But someone saw her, made an assumption, and decided to play security guard. What happened next became one of the most satisfying stories of karma you'll ever hear. This is real. This happened. And it's wild. Nicole Richardson grew up in West Oakland. Not the gentrified West Oakland you see today with the fancy coffee shops and condos. The West Oakland from the 90s, the one where grocery stores were scarce, where fresh produce was hard to find, where people called it a food desert because the only options were liquor stores and corner markets selling expired chips and soda. Her mom used to take the bus for 45 minutes to get to a decent grocery store. Nicole remembered being a kid, sitting on that bus, watching her mom count change to make sure they had enough for groceries and bus fare back home. It was exhausting. It was frustrating. And it planted something in young Nicole's mind. "Why don't we have a good grocery store in our neighborhood?" she asked her mom once. Her mom just shook her head. "Because nobody thinks we're worth investing in, baby." That stuck with Nicole for years, through high school, through college at UC Berkeley, where she studied business administration, through her first job at a corporate consulting firm in San Francisco, where she learned everything about retail operations, supply chain management, and business development. By the time Nicole was 32, she had a plan, a big plan. She wanted to open grocery stores in underserved communities, real grocery stores, not corner stores, not overpriced bodegas. Actual supermarkets with fresh produce, quality meat, affordable prices, and respect for the communities they served. She spent 2 years developing a business plan she pitched to investors. Most of them laughed at her. Grocery stores in low-income neighborhoods? Too risky, not profitable. You'll get robbed. Nobody will shop there. But Nicole kept pushing. She found a few investors who believed in her vision. She secured loans. She scraped together everything she had. And at 34 years old, she opened her first store in East Oakland. She called it Fresh Start Market. The store was beautiful, clean, well-lit, organized, fair prices. She hired people from the neighborhood, paid them well, treated them with respect. The community loved it. Within 2 years, Fresh Start Market was profitable. Not just barely profitable, actually making money. Nicole proved everyone wrong. Then she opened a second location in West Oakland. Same model, same success. By the time Nicole was 38, she had 5 Fresh Start Markets across Oakland and Richmond. She was a successful black woman entrepreneur, a role model, someone who actually did something instead of just talking about it. But success didn't protect her from prejudice, and she was about to be reminded of that in the most humiliating way possible. Nicole had 2 kids, 7-year-old Marcus and 5-year-old Zoe. She was a single mom. Their dad wasn't in the picture. It was just the 3 of them. And despite running 5 grocery stores, Nicole still did regular mom things. She still took her kids to the park, still helped with homework, and yes, still went grocery shopping. One Saturday afternoon, Nicole was shopping at a Safeway in Piedmont, a wealthy neighborhood near Oakland. She didn't usually shop there, but she was in the area for a meeting and needed to grab some things for dinner. Marcus and Zoe were with her. They were being good kids, staying close, not running around. Marcus was pushing the cart. Zoe was holding Nicole's hand. Nicole was in the snack aisle, looking at crackers, when Zoe said, "Mommy, I'm hungry." "I know, baby. We'll eat soon. But I'm really hungry now." Nicole looked at the box of crackers in her hand. It was one of those family-sized boxes with individual snack packs inside. She opened it, pulled out one snack pack, and handed it to Zoe. "Here, just one, okay? We'll pay for it at the register." This is normal. Parents do this all the time. Your kid is hungry, you let them eat something from the cart, you pay for it at checkout. The cashiers don't care. It's not stealing, it's just practical parenting. Zoe opened the crackers and started eating. Nicole put the opened box in the cart and continued shopping. They moved to the produce section. Nicole was picking out apples when she heard a voice behind her. "Excuse me." Nicole turned around. There was a white woman standing there, middle-aged, blonde hair, expensive athleisure wear, the kind of outfit that costs $300 but is designed to look casual. Her name was Susan Mitchell, though Nicole didn't know that yet. "Yes?" Nicole said. Susan looked at Zoe, who was still eating crackers. Then she looked at Nicole with this expression. This look that Nicole had seen before. Suspicion, judgment, superiority. "Did you pay for those crackers?" Susan asked. Nicole blinked. Excuse me? Those crackers your daughter's eating, did you pay for them? Nicole felt her stomach tighten. She knew exactly what was happening. She'd experienced it before. The assumption, the accusation, just because of how she looked. The box is in my cart, Nicole said calmly, pointing. I'm going to pay for it at checkout. Susan crossed her arms. So you're letting your child eat food you haven't paid for yet? That's stealing? People nearby started looking. Other shoppers, a teenage employee stocking shelves, an older man with a basket, all eyes on Nicole. Marcus moved closer to his mom. He was 7, but he understood what was happening. He'd seen his mom deal with this kind of thing before. Nicole took a deep breath. Stay calm. Don't make a scene. Not in front of the kids. It's not stealing, Nicole said quietly. Parents let their kids eat snacks from the cart all the time. I'm going to pay for the entire box at checkout. It's not a problem. It is a problem, Susan said louder. You're teaching your children that it's okay to take things without paying for them. That's theft. Ma'am, I just told you I'm going to pay for it. How do I know that? How do I know you're not just going to walk out of here? Nicole's jaw clenched. Because I'm telling you I'm going to pay for it. That's what all shoplifters say. The words hung in the air. All shoplifters. Marcus grabbed his mom's hand. Zoe stopped eating her crackers, suddenly aware that something was wrong. Nicole felt rage building inside her, but she couldn't explode. Not here. Not in front of her kids. Not in front of all these people watching. I need you to step back, Nicole said, her voice low and controlled. I don't know who you think you are, but you don't get to accuse me of stealing. I'm shopping. That's it. I'm a concerned citizen, Susan said, and I think we should get a manager over here to sort this out. You want to get a manager? Nicole said. Fine, get a manager. Susan walked off toward the front of the store. Nicole stood there, her kids next to her, surrounded by staring strangers. Some looked sympathetic, some looked curious, some probably agreed with Susan. Marcus looked up at his mom. Are we in trouble? No, baby, Nicole said, kneeling down to his level. We're not in trouble. That lady is just confused. But inside, Nicole was shaking. Not from fear, from anger, from exhaustion, from the weight of constantly having to prove she wasn't a criminal just for existing in certain spaces. A few minutes later, Susan returned with a manager, a young white guy, maybe 25 years old, looking extremely uncomfortable. Ma'am, he said to Nicole, I'm sorry, but there's been a complaint about... I know, Nicole cut him off. This woman accused me of stealing because my daughter is eating crackers from a box that's in my cart. A box I'm going to pay for. Because that's what normal parents do. The manager looked at the cart. He saw the opened box. He looked at Zoe, who was now crying quietly. He said, yeah, that's totally fine. People do that all the time. There's no issue here. Susan's face turned red. But she opened the product without paying first. That's allowed, the manager said. As long as she pays for it at checkout, it's not a problem. Well, how do you know she's going to pay for it? The manager looked confused. Because she's still shopping? She has a cart full of groceries? Nicole had heard enough. She looked at Susan directly. You want to know why you assumed I was stealing? Nicole said. Let's be real. You saw a black woman with 2 black kids and you assumed we were up to something. You didn't see the white mom over there whose kid is eating a banana from her cart. You didn't see the white dad in the next aisle who opened a bag of chips for his son. You saw me, and you made an assumption. Susan's face went from red to purple. That's not... I didn't... This has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with race, Nicole said. But I'm not going to stand here and argue with you. I have groceries to buy. She turned to the manager. Am I free to continue shopping? Or do I need to leave? No, you're totally fine, he stammered. Please continue. I'm really sorry about this. Nicole pushed her cart away. Susan stood there sputtering. The manager looked like he wanted to disappear. Nicole finished her shopping in silence. Marcus stayed close. Zoe had stopped crying but wasn't eating her crackers anymore. At checkout, Nicole paid for everything, including the opened box of crackers. The cashier was super nice, probably because she'd heard what happened. As Nicole loaded groceries into her car, she felt exhausted, defeated. She'd won the confrontation, technically, but it didn't feel like a win. It felt like another reminder that no matter how successful she was, no matter how much she achieved, some people would always see her as suspicious, as less than, as a potential criminal. She drove home, made dinner for her kids, put them to bed, and then she sat in her living room and cried, not just about today, about every time this had happened, about every suspicious look, every extra bit of surveillance, every assumption made about her character based on nothing but her skin color. But Nicole didn't stay defeated for long, because 2 days later something happened that would change everything. She got a call from her business attorney. He sounded excited. Nicole, you're not going to believe this. Safeway is selling. What? The entire Northern California division. They're restructuring, looking for a buyer. It's 47 stores. Nicole's heart started racing. How much? A lot. But you have investors. You have a proven track record. You could put together a bid. Nicole had always dreamed of expanding Fresh Start Market. But buying an entire division of Safeway? That was massive. That was jumping from 5 stores to 52 stores overnight. It would also be poetic justice, buying the same chain where she'd just been humiliated. Over the next 3 months, Nicole worked harder than she'd ever worked in her life. She met with investors. She presented her business model. She showed them the success of Fresh Start Market. She proved that grocery stores in underserved communities could be profitable, that she could manage operations at scale. The investors believed in her. The banks approved loans. And Nicole put together a bid. She wasn't the only bidder. There were 3 other companies trying to buy the Safeway division. Big corporations with more money and more experience. But Nicole had something they didn't. She had a vision. She had a track record of success. And she had investors who believed in her mission. The day the decision was announced, Nicole was in her office at the West Oakland Fresh Start Market. Her attorney called. You got it. They accepted your bid. You're the new owner of 47 Safeway stores in Northern California. Nicole couldn't speak. She just sat there, phone pressed to her ear, tears streaming down her face. She'd done it. She'd actually done it. The news went public a week later. Local media covered it. Then national media picked it up. Oakland entrepreneur buys entire Safeway division. Black woman becomes one of the largest grocery store owners in California. The story was everywhere. And that's when the really satisfying part happened. Nicole decided to visit each of her new stores. She wanted to meet the staff, understand the operations, make a good impression. She was still going to operate them under the Safeway name, at least initially, while she transitioned them to the Fresh Start Market model. One of those stores was the Piedmont location, the one where Susan Mitchell had accused her of stealing. Nicole walked in on a Wednesday morning, dressed professionally, carrying a clipboard, flanked by her operations manager and her head of HR. The store manager greeted them nervously. He'd been warned the new owner was coming. Nicole walked through the store, taking notes, asking questions, observing how things operated. The employees were polite, but clearly anxious. New ownership always made people nervous about their jobs. And then, as Nicole was inspecting the produce section, she saw her, Susan Mitchell, shopping, picking out organic kale, completely oblivious. Nicole felt a rush of adrenaline. She could just ignore her, walk away, be the bigger person. But you know what? She'd been the bigger person that day in the store. She'd kept her composure. She hadn't made a scene, and Susan had still treated her like a criminal. So Nicole made a decision. She walked over. Susan was examining a bunch of kale like it was the most important decision of her life. "Excuse me," Nicole said. Susan looked up. There was no recognition in her eyes. None. She'd completely forgotten the woman she'd humiliated 3 months ago. "Yes," Susan said. "I just wanted to introduce myself," Nicole said, extending her hand. "I'm Nicole Richardson. I'm the new owner of this store. Actually, I'm the new owner of all 47 Safeway stores in Northern California." Susan's expression changed. Confusion first. Then something else as her brain started making connections. "Wait," Susan said slowly. That's right," Nicole said with a smile. "I'm the woman you accused of stealing crackers from my daughter. The woman you called security on. The woman you said was teaching her children to be thieves." Susan's face went white. Actually white. Like all the blood drained out. I didn't... That wasn't... "It's okay," Nicole said calmly. "I'm not here to make a scene. I just wanted to introduce myself as the new owner. I'm planning some changes. We're going to retrain all staff on customer service and racial bias. We're going to implement policies that protect customers from harassment. And we're going to make sure this is a welcoming environment for everyone." Nicole paused, then added, "including black mothers shopping with their children." The operations manager and HR director were standing nearby, trying not to smile. The store manager looked like he wanted to crawl into the produce cooler. Susan just stood there, frozen, holding her organic kale. "Anyway," Nicole said brightly, "welcome to the new Safeway. Well, it'll be rebranded as Fresh Start Market soon, but for now, welcome. I hope you continue to shop here." And then Nicole walked away. She didn't wait for a response. She didn't need one. Behind her, she heard Susan drop the kale and rush out of the store. The store manager approached Nicole. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry about what happened that day. I didn't know—" "It's not your fault," Nicole said. "You handled it fine. But let's make sure it doesn't happen again to anyone else, okay?" "Absolutely," he said. "Whatever you need." The story of the confrontation leaked somehow. Maybe another customer overheard. Maybe an employee talked. But within 24 hours, it was all over local social media. Remember the Karen who accused a black mom of stealing crackers? Turns out that mom just bought the entire grocery chain. It went viral. National news picked it up again. The story had everything people loved: injustice, karma, a perfect comeuppance. Nicole did interviews. She talked about racial profiling in retail spaces, about how black customers are followed, watched, and suspected at much higher rates than white customers, about how this needed to change. I don't share this story for revenge, Nicole said in one interview. I share it because it happens every day to black people, in stores, in restaurants, and public spaces. We're assumed to be suspicious, and it needs to stop. She also announced her plans for the Fresh Start Market expansion. She was going to keep most of the existing Safeway employees. She was going to implement mandatory bias training. She was going to partner with local community organizations. And she was going to make sure fresh, affordable food was available in every neighborhood, not just wealthy ones. 2 years after Nicole bought the Safeway division, all 47 stores had been successfully transitioned to Fresh Start Markets. She kept her promise. She retained most employees. She improved wages and benefits. She brought quality, affordable groceries to underserved communities across Northern California. The business was thriving, not just surviving, actually thriving. Nicole proved what she'd always believed, that people in low-income communities deserved quality grocery stores, and that those stores could be profitable if done right. She never saw Susan Mitchell again. She heard through the grapevine that Susan had moved out of California. Maybe embarrassment, maybe coincidence. Nicole didn't really care. But something else happened that mattered more. Parents started coming up to Nicole at her stores, black parents, brown parents, parents who'd experienced the same kind of profiling. "Thank you," they'd say. "Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for making it safe for us to shop with our kids." And that meant more than any revenge ever could. Nicole's kids were older now. Marcus was 9, Zoe was 7. They understood what had happened that day at Safeway, and they understood what their mom had built afterward. "Are you still mad at that lady?" Zoe asked once. Nicole thought about it. "No, baby, I'm not mad. I'm grateful." "Grateful? Why?" "Because she reminded me why I do what I do. She reminded me that there's still work to be done, and she gave me extra motivation to succeed." Marcus nodded. "So she accidentally helped you?" Nicole smiled. "Something like that." The truth was, Nicole would have succeeded anyway. She didn't need Susan's racism to motivate her. She already had the drive, the skills, the vision. But there was something poetic about the way it happened. About being humiliated in a Safeway and then buying the entire chain. About being accused of stealing and then becoming the person who signed the paychecks. Nicole's story became required reading in some business schools, an example of entrepreneurship, perseverance, and social impact. Young black women reached out to her for mentorship. She started a scholarship program for students interested in business and community development. And every time she walked into one of her stores, every time she saw families shopping without being followed or suspected, every time she saw kids eating snacks from their parents' carts without anyone calling it theft, she felt proud. Not because she'd gotten revenge on one racist woman, but because she'd built something real, something that mattered, something that made her community better. That's the real victory. Not the viral moment, not the comeuppance, but the lasting change. If this one hit you right, subscribe because more stories are coming.